This is day 327 of Zohar Pshat. Very interesting Zohar today. About 16 lines from the top of Lamed Vav and Beis. And we talk about after the sin, and we skip around a bit here. Of course, Zohar later will come back to other parts of Bereshis. And the Ubasar Olidu Bra. Afterwards, on Chava, after the chait, after the curse, they gave birth. Bra Kadma brought the Zuah Ma'ava. The first child was a child of pollution. Now, fascinating to Zohar here. I picked it up. Let's pick up how Balio Baileha. Baile Nachash Ibras Kayin. The Nachash had relations with Chava, and she became pregnant with Kayin. And brings down later on, Vazar Dafnun Vav, Hai Bra Durach Basava, it's the son of the spirit of Tuma, and brings down from elsewhere in the Zohar. And then he brings down Tesis of Menachas, Daf Lamed Vav Amid Aleph, Zayin Aleph, Dir Maska Okum Gali, and it brings down the Medrash. Even though a person with two heads cannot survive, there's nevertheless in the Medrash from Adashmadoi, he took out from under the ground a person with two heads, and that person begat another person with two heads. And then they brought it to Shlomo Melech for some din Torah about it. Zach Lashon is the Nasa Isha Ben Chetz V'Shterashim Chetz Yetze Be'Ishto B'Rosh Echad. They so yeah, there were two children. One had two heads, and one had one head. And now the question was, the child with two heads, does he get two portions in the Yerusha? Because he's two people. Suppose a child with one head, it's only one person. So you can have this case with we have a case of people with two heads where they are co-joined twins, and sometimes they're co-joined the way, which seem to have no rest of the body to separate, just two heads. It's a possibility. Okay. But and the point is the connection which the Zohar is making is to say that Kayin was Kaviyachol, a person with two heads, a head from the Chava and a head from the Nachash, a head from Adam, head from the Nachash. So I don't think they were going to take it that far. I don't think they were going to take it literally that the Nachash impregnated Chava. I think the idea is that Kayin represented this connection with the Tumah, which Adam now possessed, and Adam himself got from the Nachash. Not that it come from the Nachash to Chava. It came from Adam to Chava too, but it came from the Nachash originally. So those Kochos of Tumah had now potential to connect to the children and give those children a deficit, which manifests itself in Kayin, and therefore Kayin had his own Avera as a result. So the Zohar explains, train Asu Allah, the Chava, they both, two entities had relations with Chava. It was Avrasaminayu, and she been pregnant from them. For this train, she gave birth to two. Again, I don't think they take it literally, any of this. But the idea is that there's already this Ruach Ra, which infuses itself into people because of the Ruach Ra, which now has become part and parcel of the human character, from the idiom of the Eitzadas. This one went to his strength, and this one went to his strength. In other words, the spirit of Nachash went to one, and the spirit of Chav the other. And their spirits separated. One to one side, one to the other side. Each was like the side from which it came. Misitra, the kind from the side of Kayin, come during the Sitra, come all the aspects, all the literally dwelling places, the Sitra design vision of the side of negative forces, Veruchin and spirit negative forces, Veshadin and demons, Vechershin and magicians, Asin all come from Kayin. Sitra Hevel on the side of Hevel, Sitra Rachma Yosir came on the contrary, the side of complete Rachma, because Hevel represented the birth after all of the evil, after all of the negative had gone into Kayin. But Lo B'Shlimu wasn't complete. It was like good wine is bad wine. Evidently, it didn't all come out in Kayin. Some was still left in Hevel. Because it does say, even it says Racham Yosir, it was not Shlimu, it's Chamra Tav Chamra Bish. V'lo is talking about it was not fixed up with him at Asa Sheis until Sheis came, after, of course, Hevel was killed. Sheis took place. His Yachsimnei Koinin Inun Darin Zakoi Alma. And from him derive all the generations of the people who are meritorious in the world. Be'itchel Alma, Ishtel Alma, with him the world is planted. And here we come much more closer to Pshat. Then from Kayin came all the brazen and the wicked of the world. Now it's interesting because by Noach and Naamah, his wife, obviously Noach came from Sheis and Naamah came from Kayin. So the world till today is still Hevel and Sheis and Kayin together. There's still and presumably Naamah herself, just like Noach was a tzaddikus. But the point is that these are not necessarily specific people referring to. Again, even though we say Kayin and Hevel, we're talking about types. And there's the Kayin type and the Hevel type, or the Kayin type and the Sheis type. And the idea is that you have people who are fundamentally influenced by whatever reason, negative forces, and are bad people or create bad people as a result, and people fundamentally influenced by positive forces and create positive people as a result. And then you have all sorts of mixtures of good and bad together. So, and this all comes about as a result of the Nachash. Adam Rishon having chosen, Chava having chosen, so Ifanei Sadas. Now things are all mixed up, and it's hard to tell who's what, right? And that's like the famous Divrei Chaim, which we've quoted already, although I don't think recently, that he says to be careful that most people, even the Rabbanim, come from the Erev Rav. You never can tell because everybody's mixing together. But this idea theoretically comes in comes the origin of the Chet of Adam Rishon impacting on Adam and Chava, and then having it birth to Kayin and Hevel. And there's famous Ramban Brachos, I think it's the Ramban by Yishmael, where it talks about this idea that in the children you manifest negative traits which come out, which even though they weren't recognizable in the parents, like Avraham had Yishmael and Yitzchak had Esav. So this idea of their negative traits come out. Holy Ben Poritz, I think, is the lashon he uses, which come have a result of the spiritual DNA, even of a great tzaddik, like Adam Chava, was impacted by the Nachash. So, actually, this is a new thing because it's talking about the Chet of Kayin, so we'll leave it for today.